Okay, so let's go over a couple quick things. First off, we are doing 3 different masterminds today. It's from a 1 to 2 is the first one, right? 1 to 2 is going to be growth. What I have in mind for, launch. What I have in mind for launch, and you're free to attend any of them, or all of them if you'd like. The content's going to be similar. My goal for these sessions is basically to get a better feel for what people are wanting and give them a better feel for what I have in mind, and make sure that everyone leaves, no matter which mastermind they partake in, knowing that this program is going to deliver more value than they expected for their specific needs, right? Launch, what I have in mind is like 0 to 3 transactions. It's like if somebody wanted to write a contract and you didn't know what to do, right? So that's like the basic foundational skills. Like, how should we be spending our time? What concepts should we be getting more familiar with? How do I put together paperwork? What should be my proactive and purposeful plan to learning the marketplace? These kind of things. The second group is emerging. Emerging in my eyes is around 4 to 10 transactions or so. The idea there is you probably don't have a concern with how to put together, like, let's say a buyer brokerage agreement or an FHA loan contract or something of that nature, yet you still have a lot of missing pieces, right? You still need the foundational parts. You're probably in the process of building your database and your systems. You are working through time management skills, these kind of things. And of course, perfecting and getting more experience with your presentations. The final group is growth. Growth is kind of unlimited. Growth is, I've got that stuff we just talked about kind of figured out. Not that, obviously you could improve your presentations. I shouldn't say obviously, but more than likely you can improve your presentations. You can get more efficient with the use of technology. You can be more purposeful about how you're learning the market or how you're spending your time. But the content is going to be a bit more high level, right? We're going to be talking about P&Ls. We're going to be talking about hiring people. We're going to be talking about getting on an airplane to go to training, right? It's going to be a little bit more like kind of high level business stuff, if you will. Now, again, you're free to come to whatever you want. So if you are currently in emerging and you want to be, and your intention is to build a business and you want to hear the stuff we're talking about at the higher level masterminds, just participate, okay? But please understand that, don't ask how to put together a contract in the growth mastermind, if you will. If you still have that need, come to a different mastermind or deal with me privately. Cool? Okay, so please attend those if you can. What I handed you was this concept that Keller Williams has started to teach a little bit, which is called DTD2. So they've kind of arranged the schedules based on when the bold launches occur. But you can kind of ignore that and instead just focus on the dates. So for example, what's today's date? The 12th?
Yes.
Okay, so what it's suggesting, if you look towards the bottom of the first column, the week starting March 9th, which was a Monday, right? So what they're suggesting is that you contact people in your database whose last names start with P and with L, and you text those in your database with the last name D. And the message is...
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so let's back up and I'll tell you what this idea is. So alphabet's got 26 letters in it, right? Weeks, a year's got 52 weeks in it, right? So with that said, if you communicate with people's, each week, your goal is to communicate with people whose last names start with 2 different letters. When you do that, you will communicate with those people once every quarter. The idea here is that it eliminates what you would call call reluctance, if you will. So Kathy, let's say you had a closing 2 years ago and you hadn't spoken to that person since. Do you think it's going to be a little awkward to call that person?
It could be. I know it could be, but this has happened to me before, and they're glad to hear from you, and they will usually say, well, don't apologize, I haven't called you either. so.
Great. I'm glad you answered it that way. So let's say that you're pondering that decision. Do I want to call Joe, the guy who I helped buy a home 2 years ago? Do you think it's going to be more awkward today or tomorrow to make that phone call?
Tomorrow.
Good. And you think it's going to be even weirder if you make the phone call in a week from now?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's the point.
just do it.
Just do it. Right? The worst thing that they're going to say is, I had a bad experience with you and I don't intend to use you in the future.
So when you make
Or
that
I married a
kind of-
realtor,
I'm sorry.
don't contact me anymore. And that's okay.
But when you make that kind of call, do you go right into a business conversation?
No.
That's what, yeah.
You have to determine whether you've earned the right to go into a business conversation, right? So your approach is going to be dependent upon what that relationship looks like. I would venture to say that it should be just to check in on them. And you can use the idea of what they teach in Bold, and I think they're starting to teach it in Ignite too, is the FORD idea. Talk about their family, their occupation, FORD, family, occupation, recreation, like what do they do, what are their hobbies, what do they do on their free time or whatever, and their dreams, right? What are they thinking about, like what's their goal for the year? You know, maybe are they thinking about investment property? Are they planning to move somewhere, that kind of stuff, you know, retire somewhere. So you don't want it to be like a really regimented telephone call. And your approach is gonna change over time as you continue to build these relationships. But I would ask them a couple of questions about them, because guess what's gonna happen after they ask you, after you ask them a couple questions about them?
That's a good idea.
Exactly. And that's when you might say, hey, I don't know if you saw on social media or LinkedIn or whatever, I've now partnered with Keller Williams Realty, and I'm in the middle of launching my real estate business. And I just wanted to make sure I had, you know, all the proper contact information for you. If there's any questions you have at any point, just let me know. I wouldn't go in like, give me the names and numbers of all your friends, right? You haven't earned that right. So you might say something like, hey, I don't know if you heard, Keller Williams got a really cool app out now. It's completely free to use. You know, do you mind checking it out? Give me your feedback on it. Something of that nature. You're not asking for anything that costs any money. You're delivering a piece of value. It's kind of like going, you ever heard the phrase, you have to make deposits before you can make withdrawals,
Yes.
right? So I bank at Wells Fargo. So let's say I go into that bank at the corner right there. Never been in there, they don't have any of my money or anything, right? They don't even know who I am. So I walk up to the counter and I say, can I have some money, please? I'd like to make a withdrawal. They're like, who the hell are you? Right? I'm like, oh, I'm Bill Linkwald. They're like, we don't account for no Bill Linkwald here, right? So they're not gonna give me anything, right? But I go to Wells Fargo and I say, hey, give me some money. They're like, which one of the 20 accounts do you have here would you like money from?
Is that how you go in? Hey, give me some money.
No. No. Come on now. You don't
Just
think,
so I did that, I'm gonna see
I'm not
you
that-
on
I'm not a
Channel
celebrity,
11
no.
News.
no. I'm like the guy that's fiddling around with the phone, but next in line, and they're like, hello, we're available now. Right? All right, that's my joke for the day. Okay, does it make sense? So you have to make some deposits before you can expect to extract anything from your people. Okay? Just let them, it's gotta be a positive conversation, right? Let them know you're having fun, let them know you're learning a lot, let them know that you're available to answer any questions. Make sense? Okay, the idea here is that it breaks down a schedule of obviously there's more people whose last name ends in T than ends in Z, right?
Yeah.
So they've put together these to try to, I guess, equalize the amount of people that you would speak to, right? Although I'm not sure why I and Q are together. I'm not gonna go into that detail. But just follow the model, okay? This is a test. Just follow the model. So this week, what it's suggesting is you take everyone in your database whose last name ends in P and whose last name ends in L and reach out to them and connect with them. Okay?
P and L?
P and L. Here's a
Profit
sheet
loss.
right here. Okay? Then it says that everyone whose last name ends in D, send them a text. Right? Say, the text could be super simple. It could be like, hey, finally a day of sun,
Okay.
enjoy your weekend.
That's where you were
Yeah.
losing me. I thought you were
Right.
saying text the people whose last name begins with P and L, a D.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I need to put on my glasses.
I get it
Okay,
now.
so that's the idea behind DTD2.
Okay.
So, it's just a model, it's just a recommendation. Your hands are not gonna get smacked if you don't participate, but this is a way of, you can't tell me you didn't know who to call. These are who to call, these are the people to call. Okay, we also have this inputted in the Google Drive as well, so if you lose this copy, or for anyone that's watching this, it's in the Google Drive, okay? As we also have script books in Google Drive as well. So if you have not already familiarized yourself with the scripts, or the thousands of scripts that are available, there's Ignite scripts that are in the Google Drive, the new Ignite scripts that are in Google Drive, as well as I think one or two other script books that I have on PDF that I went ahead and put in there. The idea behind Ignite, I haven't confirmed this with Melba, but it would be my pretty educated guess, is that we had to go through quite a thing to get Ignite approved through GREC for post-license. And because the content of Ignite 2 is different, my guess is we're probably in that stage with GREC again, to make sure that when we teach Ignite 2, that it would also qualify for the post-license. That's why Ignite 2 is not technically being taught right now, although the material it's out, and it is in the Google Drive. Yes.
Okay.
Where's the Google Drive available from? Like
You're not getting any emails from me, are you?
I guess I'm not.
We need to double check that, because
Okay.
all the emails have been sent out that way.
Okay.
Let's huddle right after and
Gotcha.
try to figure out why. I stared at your name yesterday. It's like M-A-I. I was like trying to.
And your text
M-A-R.
never came in either.
Yeah, we got to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
We're
We're
not.
blocking each other.
We got a communication
We're blocking
issue.
each other. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, we got to unblock each other now.
All right, so I've been practicing scripts, but I'm doing an open house on Sunday.
Yeah.
And they gave me, it was my price team, they gave me the script, and they also gave me a list of circle prospect.
Beautiful.
So, but I guess I'll be calling, is it better to call today or tomorrow? It's
I would
only-
call every day.
Oh, okay.
Do you mean to invite them to the open house?
Well, yeah, they gave me the list of,
On call really?
Well, the list is more than a couple hundred people, right?
that's weird because it was only 30, so I sent them an email yesterday saying, hey, yo, why is this only 30 people? Is this the entire list? So,
Well, call the 30 and then call them back and say, hey, I called the 30, what do I do now?
okay.
Whenever you say, should I do it today or tomorrow, generally speaking, the answer is today.
Okay.
Just do it. Right, there'll be something else to deal with tomorrow, or another list of people to call tomorrow. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so if you are not, let's just do some housekeeping real fast. Everybody should be in the WhatsApp group. You should have access to the Google Drive. You should have access to RampUp. You should have access to the YouTube channel, and you should have access to the Facebook group. Okay, so everyone should have gotten at least one email in the past that has all of those links.
Okay, so Bill, I got your email with the links, but when I click on the link to get to the Facebook group, it doesn't take me there. It doesn't, because shouldn't it take me to the Facebook group and it asks?
Do you wanna join?
Right. It doesn't take me there.
All right, pull it up and let me show me what it says. I'll fix the links if they're broken in some capacity, and I apologize for that. It shouldn't be that way. It's called Roswell PC.
Oh, by the way, remember you had asked me, you challenged me to, I submitted my name in the
Yeah?
Ramp Up group for
Productivity,
a productivity.
or accountability partner?
Accountability partner,
Yep.
so.
All right, Kim, I
waiting
just
back for a
invited you.
response.
Good. If you don't get one by the end of the day, do it again.
Yeah,
See, Bill, mine didn't include the Facebook the WhatsApp, the KW Roswell PCU to.
Now I
drive
got it,
folder.
this is hilarious. It went right there.
What?
It went right there, I got it.
No, I just invited
Oh,
you.
is that what happened?
So,
Yeah, I don't think I'm in the WhatsApp group, but
all right, we may have to do these things just one at a time, and I'm happy to do that. Hang on.
So, if you give me your contact,
Right, because you added me to the WhatsApp.
I just forwarded you the link, that's all I did.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Kathy Ray, hang on, add participants.
I didn't think I have rights to add people.
All right, Kathy, you're in WhatsApp.
thanks.
Is anyone aware that they're not in anything right now?
I'm not in WhatsApp.
You're not in WhatsApp. Okay, let's knock that out real fast. Are you, do you have a WhatsApp account?
That's what I think it just said, let me see, it's probably sending it to my other phone. Yes, it does.
So,
So for the weekly progress, we were only supposed to do for the last week, which was the 2nd to the 8th, right, Bill?
that is a Monday through a Sunday, is that correct? I just texted you the WhatsApp link.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay. Man, you got an iPad and 2 cell phones.
Well, that's what.
Drive
no,
yourself
my-
crazy.
You know, I did that, my number is from out of state, and so I didn't want that on sign, so I just had so this was free.
You know what?
I've had
I had-
Verizon for so long, it's free.
I had, a buyer say that to me one day. She said, why would you have a Virginia phone number on your sign? You know, it's like it doesn't make you look like
Like
you
a
know the
local
area.
expert.
Right, that's why I changed, that's.
I
what
completely
did.
agree with that. You can get a Google Voice number, although I don't think you can get a local Google Voice number anymore. I think they're all gone. We've been trying. I've been trying to pick up a couple of them for
There's
some projects we're doing.
company besides Google Voice so that you can get something similar to Google Voice, and I think it's local. My husband knows, I just can't remember,
Okay.
but it is available.
All right, so I will send out the email one more time today, just to make sure everyone is
Okay.
in. There's 22 people in the program as of today. Okay, with a couple more that I'm
Great, Bill,
in the
that's
process of
great.
meeting with. My goal is to have 30 by the end of the month, although I think that should be a breeze. And just based on the roster, I'm thinking that I could probably get it up to about 45 with the people already in the office. And then continue to grow it beyond that. So please come to whatever you want, invite a friend, invite an outside agent, whatever it is. I can guarantee you one thing. If they are at a brokerage that isn't Keller Williams, they're not getting anything close to this. And I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the content,
Yeah,
right? They ain't getting me either,
yeah.
but they're not getting the content. Okay, cool. What should we be celebrating right now? What's cool happened in your life lately? Real estate wise, let's focus on that.
Well, this isn't cool, but I'll just go ahead and say it. I had a listing that was supposed to close next Monday, get terminated this past Monday because of buyer financing, a day after the financing contingency is up.
Oh,
So it's back on the market.
Okay,
Unfortunately, I mean, I'll sell it again, but my seller is gonna lose out on a fabulous house
because of it.
because of it. Just makes me sick.
Oh.
And then that buyer wanted her earnest money back.
no, no, no.
Really? Wow.
It was
the
after,
cons-
right?
Yeah,
It was a day after.
A day after,
Yeah.
no, not gonna happen.
No.
Okay, what can we learn from that?
Don't use Wells Fargo. If you have a listing or you have a buyer, if you have a listing and a buyer comes with Wells Fargo, get them Kathy Vitale
Yeah,
to vet them. If, I've only had 4 transactions with Wells Fargo. 2 of them were my own, 2 of them were another buyer, same buyer, who insisted on using them. They went well. But this one, I understand Wells Fargo is overloaded with
Refi.
lots of refinances, and I think they dropped the ball.
Yep.
They told me she was golden, she's self-employed, I just have to ask, you have to ask more questions. You have to ask,
Good, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's talk about that for a second. Every experience, positive and negative, we can learn a good bit from. So, what do we learn from Kathy's situation? I don't know if I'd go as far as saying I'm not working with Wells Fargo, although
I'm
I
not.
kind of had that policy myself as a sales agent for a while, which was, what I found is the bigger the bank, the crappier the experience. Okay, the smaller the bank, the better the experience. It was easier to reach the person. It was easier to reach the actual loan officer, right? You more often than not got their cell phone, right? They tended to be more responsive. Their rates and terms tended to be better, in my personal opinion. Does that mean that a buyer cannot get a loan through Wells Fargo? No, it doesn't. However, it is your job as a agent in the transaction whose paycheck and whose client success and the quality of their experience relies on every single person doing their particular job. It is your job to make sure everyone's doing their job. So, for example, I would never accept when I was working for a seller, I would never accept, or I would never recommend that a seller accept an offer prior to me speaking directly with the buyer's lender.
I had spoken with him.
I'm not saying you didn't. We're just gonna
But
talk.
That's the thing, I had spoken with him, and he's the one who said, she's golden, she's good to go.
How many times, and I'm not trying to make you wrong here, but how many times did you communicate with that person between that conversation and the time you got the call that says this ain't happening?
3 times I tried to contact him, and 3 times he didn't return my call.
Yeah. So,
And I was calling him and texting him.
yeah,
So-
I might have walked right into that bank and said,
Yeah.
where's this dude's supervisor? Because he's about to blow up this deal, and then I won't get paid
Well-
and my client will be pissed.
Well, they did the appraisal last Wednesday. They were like, oh, we gotta get this appraisal done. And then on Friday, they said, we've got to they told the buyer 8 days, use a unilateral extension, 8 days. And then on Monday, they said, we're escalating this to another level of underwriting. And then that was, Monday morning, and then Monday afternoon at 4:23, I get so sorry. So then we scrambled, got Kathy Vitale involved, we got Stacy Cannon's husband involved. They tried to work everything out, but
Couldn't happen.
we didn't sign the agreement to terminate until Tuesday, or my seller didn't sign it, because we exhausted every opportunity.
Right, I
So
mean,
why
you
couldn't
can,
Kathy do it?
This lady's self-employed and tax returns and,
Oh,
you
so
know,
there
it's
was
just,
red flags there.
it's not necessarily red flags. I mean, all of us are self-employed, but we've gotten loans before. It's just,
Yeah.
look, you can do all the preparations and all the due diligences and all the research possible in the world, and sometimes it's not gonna work. And so you did a thorough job, and your client should be proud of you for that. The problem is that it doesn't always work, right? So it is your job. Don't just say, well, I'm working for the seller, so the buyers, whatever they do is what they do.
Right.
Right, if you need to call that other agent and say, look, we went under contract 11 days ago and you hadn't ordered the appraisal, what's going on? Right? But I wouldn't have a seller sign a contract until I spoke personally to the lender. And I would ask that lender, I say, tell me, how far in this process are you with this client? Do they tell you they make 80 grand a year, or have you seen it? Right? So I wanna know that you've vetted this person, because my seller's about to take this home off the market to spend time waiting for you to close. Now, let me review the contract with you. They say that they can get an appraisal done in 16 days. Do you think that's gonna happen? They're saying they can close in 31 days. Is that gonna be an issue with you? Right? Because I want that lender to know that I mean business.
So what if
Right,
they
and
say
it's
they
not-
can't do it?
I called the other agent and said, hey, in the process of making sure that me and my client vetted your buyer, they're telling us that the appraiser's not gonna be able to do their work in 16 days, so can you clarify that for me? Because I'm not dealing with this problem in 17 days, I'm dealing with it right now. that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay? And, by the way, you're telling your seller why you're behaving the way you're behaving,
Right.
which is, I'm doing it for you. Right? I'm not trying to make this more complicated, but I've been through enough transactions to understand where the problems are gonna be, and I'm gonna head that stuff off right now. Right? Now, I'm not gonna, now, if I can't get a hold of that lender, let's say, and it's taken a day or two, I might call the other agent and say, "Hey, look, I gotta be honest with you, I can't get a hold of the lender, that concerns me. What's been your experience?"
Well, Rhonda, the other agent, she said, well, I spoke to him yesterday. I can't believe he hasn't called.
Great,
you."
let's get him on a
And
three-way
he-
right
and
now.
you know what? He said, and he told me, he texted me one time and said, the way I handle my business is I interact with the buyer and the buyer's agent. And they'll interact with you. And I said, I appreciate when lenders update me weekly. And there are, most lenders out there will do that. Kathy Vitale does it. Sends you a weekly update on Friday, everything that's going on.
Well, the way I run my business is making sure that everyone's involved in my transaction, my client's transaction. I know what's going on. And if that means that we gotta do a three-way email every day because you can only speak to that person, let's get it scheduled,
Right, okay.
right? Who's in control of your transaction?
So he was deliberately not answering the calls?
You.
It sounds like.
Yeah. He
Now,
was-
sometimes there's like compliance issues where like they can't tell you like,
Yeah.
pretty much all the time, there's compliance issues, like they can't, if I'm the listing agent, they can't tell me like what the buyer's credit score is or something, right? Or they can't tell me, you know, what their income is or these kind of things. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking you, is this deal gonna close in the appropriate amount of time that they're saying it's gonna close? I just need a yes or no.
The reason she went with him, she's a home, this buyer's a home flipper, and she was buying it for her own home. But she, and she used him because she's used him before.
That should have made it easier, right?
Yes.
So, look, you gotta understand, a couple takeaways here. Number one is the more, you're gonna have a better experience and a better likely outcome of a closing when the more research and more due diligence you do on the front end. However, you're not gonna be able to control everything.
Right.
Okay, but the more you can control and the more you're telling your seller what you're doing, the more they're gonna appreciate you. I think I mentioned in here before, let's say you take a listing and you get the right price and you put it on the market and it goes under contract within a couple days and basically you don't actually see the seller because you didn't do any open houses because the place sold first, right? You saw them when they signed the paperwork or you saw them when you presented to them, and then basically everything else happened electronically, and then you show up at the closing table and you walk out of that room with $10,000 or $15,000. What do they think? They think you're overpaid. Now, if you tell them all the things you do every day or every couple of days and at least once a week,
Yeah.
right? Even if you get a quick contract, right? And you say, hey, I want to let you know that I spent a little time today checking your buyer out on Facebook to see if there's anything concerning, right? Or I spent some time speaking to the lender to verify that everything they're telling us is accurate, right? I spent 3 hours calling the 500 people that live closest to you to let them know this home's available, right? You might do it, but there's a big difference between doing it and telling people
Yeah.
and doing it and not telling people,
Right.
right? So don't be afraid to tell your people what you're doing, because the more they know, the harder that, not the harder you're working because you're working the same, but the more they appreciate what you're doing. Make sense? Okay. Okay, let's talk about tracking just for a second. Did everyone get the link on
Yes.
tracking? Okay. So, I'm not positive this is the way I want to do it, but this is a test for the moment. Basically, what's going to happen is I'm going to send out a link probably Friday afternoon. And when I send out the link Friday afternoon, what I want you to do is give me the reporting for that week, which is Monday through that Sunday. Okay, so the link I sent out the other day was from, I think Monday was the 2nd, right? So March 2nd, and then that Sunday was what, the 8th? Okay, so you give me the data from March 2nd through March 8th. When I send out the link tomorrow, you'll give me the data from March 9th, which is this past Monday, through that Sunday. So don't fill it out until Sunday, unless you don't work on Sunday or something, right? So that would be March 9th through what, the 15th?
Yes.
Okay. Then all that data is gonna come to me, and I'm gonna collect it all and have some stats to share with the room in terms of, appointments and these kind of things. And if there's something that I feel needs to be addressed one-on-one, then I'll address it. So those things might be, your name not showing up on my thing, which means you're either not working or not telling me you're not working, or not telling me you are working, right? Or something that just doesn't seem to make sense.
Well, like me, I have no appointments last week.
Well, the thing is, that wouldn't surprise me if you didn't make any phone calls.
Right.
But if you make a bunch of phone calls, if you're spending let's say 7 hours lead generating, yet you didn't add anyone to your database, I'm gonna ask you a question about, hey, help me understand this, right? Or if you spend, no time lead generating, yet get 6 appointments, I'm gonna invite you to teach the class next week. Right? So I wanna make sense of anything that I see. So for example, if you set 10 appointments, but you go on 1, and like the next week goes by and you didn't go on any more, then I might ask you, hey, help me understand this. Are you just fluffing the numbers here? Or did like all 9 of those people cancel? Or like, tell me what's going on. And the numbers are gonna tell us everything we need to know. Do you remember when, who was the football coach that, Bill Parcells, I think, like they lost a bunch of games by like a field goal, or like something happened at the very end of the game, and they're like, oh, you're such a good team or whatever. He's like, we're 8-8. Like we are 8-8.
We are what we are.
We are what we are. Like your numbers is how I know how you're being successful, right? And we ought to be able to look at our numbers and determine where our gaps are. Again, so let's say we generate leads we're trying to generate leads for 8 hours a week, yet we only add 3 people to our database. We're either calling the wrong people, saying the wrong thing, or somebody is lying, right? And we need to figure out where that is to make sure we know what skill to address with you. Is it a practice issue? Is it a scripting issue? Is it an integrity issue, right? And we can have some content on that so that you get better and better every day. Does that make sense? Okay. Does anyone have an issue with reporting to me on a weekly basis? No? Does
Try
anyone?
not to.
Okay. If you would prefer daily, that's fine. That's like, do you guys charge 6%? It's like, yeah, I'm willing to take 6%.
Yeah.
Right. Normally we're 7%, but I'll do 6 for you. Right. If you make them laugh, that's generally a way to kill the objection right there.
Absolutely.
Right. Oh, is it negotiable? Absolutely. If you do 8%, I'll do the following extra things for you. Right. You want a drone? Cool. 8%.
Exactly.
Right here. You want a caviar and vodka ice sculpture and open house? Cool. We're gonna pay a little up front, and I'll 8%. Right? All right, what issues, let's just go for another couple of moments. What other issues are we facing right now?
I think mine is just time management. I need to sit my tail down and lead generate. I spend so much time like running back and forth to Roswell and doing everything else in my day, and then when I get home, I don't lead generate. So this is gonna be good for me, because then when you see all those zeros, I wonder why I have no appointments and no listings. It's like right in front of my face. I'm busy doing everything else except on the phone, calling my database.
Well, it will be right in front of my face,
Yeah.
and I will react accordingly. But
Yes.
the point is, it will also be in front of your face,
Yes.
right? And you will have to acknowledge the reality of the fact that your business is not producing revenue,
Right.
right? Again, I want to make sure I really drive this point home. There's no judgment here, right? If you wanna sell one home a year, awesome. My hope is to help you sell that home as fast as humanly possible, so you can go enjoy the rest of the year, okay? I'm gonna make an assumption that you probably have a bigger goal than that,
Yes.
and whatever it is fine. If it's 3 homes, 13 homes, 53 homes, 303 homes, doesn't make a difference to me. I just wanna make sure you get what you want, right? And so I know that the only way you're gonna get what you want is if you do what you gotta do every day to get it done, right? And then if there's a gap, right, if you say, hey, I need to make this, and therefore I need to do this, but I'm only doing that, Kim, is this still important to you? Why? Right? Do you have all the tools and resources you need? Is there anything going on in your personal life that affects your ability to work? No. Okay, what's going on? Let me look at your calendar. Calendar says, oh, I got this meeting, this meeting, this meeting, this meeting, this meeting. Well, is it possible to generate leads while you're there? Like, generating leads doesn't mean locking yourself in a room, putting a headset on and calling strangers. Generating leads means finding human beings. All of us need a place to live, right? Who know you're in real estate and having an intelligent two-way real estate conversation with them. And at the end of the conversation, you try to determine if there's anything they need right now that you might be able to deliver, or if they have a relationship with another agent, right? Oh, you might say, by the way, hey, we got access to a great vendor list. So if you ever have any questions about, you ever have a home-related, need, whether it be a carpet guy or a painter or a roofer or electrician or a alarm system person or a home warranty person or a mold person, just call me. Okay? Does that sound salesy? Are you saying yes?
No, I'm saying I got it.
Does that sound salesy to you? Right? Here's offering stuff, right? Hey, do you live around here? No, I live in Smyrna. Well, what are you doing over here? Oh, my kid goes over here. Yeah, I gotta sit in traffic all day to get to Roswell. I'm just sitting in a private school. Hey, you ought to move a little closer. I was thinking about that. Bam, 10 grand.
They were only that easy.
Right.
How many conversations have you had like that?
None.
Exactly. Why don't you try it first, and then we'll see. Right? Again, what's the worst they're gonna say to you? Why are you talking to me, you stranger? I think I was saying this to somebody the other day. Let's say, Kim, I am prospecting, okay, and I'm just calling strangers, and I call you, and you tell me off. It's a horrible telephone call. What are you calling me for? I'm on the do not blah 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 blah, right? And we get off the telephone, and then immediately after that call, you go to Starbucks, and I go to Starbucks, and we happen to be next to each other in Starbucks, and we start a conversation. Is it possible that 20 minutes ago you just told me off, but 5 minutes later we're next to each other having a friendly conversation because I didn't know that was you and you didn't know that was me?
Yes.
Those people don't even know who you are.
But I've found people want somebody to talk to them. If somebody has a name tag on, I always say their name.
Yeah,
And,
love that.
but people want to be talked to unless they're just like this. And I'll even talk to people like that, but they want to be talked to. They just aren't as comfortable, you gotta make them comfortable by reaching out to them first, and then they'll open up to you.
And it's so strange, like even today where like we live our lives behind a screen a lot, right? And we all have probably been, hopefully not, but most likely we all have like been affected by people with depression and, God forbid, suicide and these kind of things. And a lot of it is probably because they're seeking these relationships outside of a device, and they're not getting it.
Yep.
Right? And they would run to an opportunity like the one you're talking about. Just human beings, we naturally want to connect with other people, right? We used to do this thing in networking where we were being taught how to properly network, right? So if you meet a stranger, your goal should be, let me see how quickly I can find something that I have in common with this person. I'm gonna ask this person enough questions strategically where I figure out how quickly I can figure out whether we have something in common. Are we from the same town? Do we both have wives named Rachel? Do we have kids that are the same age? Is my kid in soccer and your kid's in soccer? Do we love to vacation in Florida? Whatever it is, do we both like the Braves? Whatever it is, the second you can get that connection, the whole dynamic changes. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question for everyone. So I'm not necessarily a phone person, but I love to go out and meet people in different environments. So like I joined a Toastmasters and I'm
Great.
taking a Spanish class at night. But when I'm sitting in a classroom with people that are brand new to me, how do you get their contact information? You don't kind of want to, well, I tell them what I do, because, you know, that
Yeah.
people ask what you do, and I tell them what I do. Did you just go right in and like, give me your information? Like, how do you gently do that?
Hey, I'm building a database. My coach told me I better talk to you. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, really?
No, you gotta offer something,
Okay.
right? Hey, I'm at Keller Williams. Like, we have this app that is just amazing,
Is that?
right? Would you like me to share it with you? Sure. Well, I'm gonna need your email, and I'm gonna need your cell phone number. And what was your birth weight, your social security number, your blood type? No, just kidding, you'll get that eventually. But you gotta trade their data for something of value.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So something happened to me yesterday. I told Kathy about this yesterday. So yesterday I was sitting here after we spoke and someone called me to give me some information on, I'm selling a house in New Jersey. And they called me to give me an update on an inspection. And so I started talking and she said to me, hey, how's the weather in Alpharetta? And I was like, wait, hold a second, this doesn't sound right but I knew she knew my address and everything like that. And so I started talking, come to find out she's moving to Georgia in like 2 weeks.
That's great.
Great.
Okay, so
Isn't
you
that
just
cool?
proved this your point, it worked.
And this is a woman, so my problem is that I feel kind of funny asking, like, I meet a lot of people and I'm talking to them and, but I can ask the guys for their number easier than I can ask a woman for it.
Oh, I'll handle
So I'll
it.
give you
Give it
two
to me.
options.
I'll call her.
I'll give you two options. Either only call men and build your business that way, or get over it.
And get
Or
what?
get over it. Okay?
Okay.
Are you gonna be faithful?
Yeah.
Then quit worrying about it. Just call them.
Just call.
No, it's not even that. I feel that, yeah, it's a fear, just,
It's something in your mind
yeah.
that you're telling yourself that this woman thinks I'm coming on to her or something like that.
Not even that. Well, why would this guy be asking for his number or something like that?
Because you've offered something of value to her that she has been interested in,
Okay.
right? You're not just going up to some random woman at Starbucks and say, hey, give me your number, and she's like, whoa. You've had a conversation with her, you've offered something of value to which she's interested, and the only way she's gonna get it is if she shares some data.
Right.
And if she says, you coming on to me, and said, no. But if this is gonna be adversarial now, God, how much of a pain in the ass is that transaction gonna be? Just go find another man and ask him his stuff. Like, no excuse is gonna work. If you don't wanna talk to women because of some, whatever it is, then don't. Go set all your appointments with men and don't make any excuses. But that, we should be able to get over. Right?
Hey, this is Charleston with your digits.
That's not how I do that shit. It's a big daddy.
We're having a ladies only open house on Sunday, baby. Ladies come from 1 to 2, men come from 2 to 3, and everyone else can come with their spouses after.
That will work.
Hey, it probably would if you did it. Right? If you ask enough people for something, somebody's gonna say yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, if, let's say you wanted to go out on a date on Saturday night, and you said, today, I'm gonna find me a date on Saturday night, and you just went up to women randomly throughout the day, and said, hey, I'd like to take you to dinner on Saturday night. Do you think somebody's gonna agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right? Even if you were obnoxious about it, and you said, and let's put a real estate spin on it, I wanna list a home before this weekend. And you just went up to people, hey, you have a home to sell? No. You have a home to sell? You have a home to sell? Somebody's gonna say yes, you're gonna get a piece of business. So the reason why you're putting up numbers other than, the reason why you're putting up zeros is because you're not active enough,
Right.
Yeah.
okay? By the way, again, that's okay as long as you have an awareness about it, right? That doesn't mean that, let's say you have a vacation planned next week, and your intention is to actually be present on your vacation and not be working, which is the goal, and you say, Bill, I ain't doing nothing for real estate next week, it's gonna be all zeros. Say, awesome, have a great vacation, right? There's no judgment there. You just need to have an awareness that when you don't do any work for a week, the results of that will show up in your world later. However, because you're aware of that, and you have an awareness, and you are purposeful about how you drive business, you're going to plan for that, right? So you either know that you're not gonna see business 90 days from now for that week, or you doubled the calls you made earlier, or you doubled the calls when you got back. Anything's okay, you just have to have an awareness about it. If you don't wanna do any work, that's okay. I'm not your husband, and I'm not your, I'm not counting on you, well, technically I am, but the point is that y'all are supposed to just live your lives. Whatever you get is what you get. But if you're not happy with what you're getting, that's my job. It's like, okay, well, your plan ain't working. So what you did last week yielded what you got. If you don't like this, you gotta have a different plan. No judgment, right? If you gained 5 pounds this week, it is what it is. Let's take stock of what we did, and let's make an adjustment. Let's not get down on ourselves. It just is what it is. This is what I did, and didn't do any exercising. I ate all fat, sodas and fried chicken, and that's why I gained 5 pounds. So if you don't like the result, then quit doing that crap. Make sense? Okay.